as we said, we'll expect changes in all these numbers as we move forward throughout the night. But now the Boston Globe is reporting that Boston hospitals are treating over 100 victims after these blasts. So originally we had heard the number 22 were injured. That has climbed now. It looks like they are treating over 100 people. Phenomenal hospitals, however, in Boston, Tom Keene.
Oh yeah, they are world class. We've used our fair share of their services in the time I spent up there. You see the headline there on Bloomberg HD on the Boston Globe. I would point out, and Richard, I think you're the pro at this, is we all need to be very careful about conflicting information right now. Just a tweet out of the New York Post and the AP being far apart in some of the estimates, a lot of conflicting information, not only on deaths and injuries, but just on other information as well.
It's always what happens in incidents like this. There's such a thirst for every little data point, and when you've been through it enough times, you quickly realize you need a little bit of time to digest it and sort out which of the various pieces are in fact accurate or misinformation. And it's just how these things go. So both for journalists and for policymakers and responders and the general public, always have to be very careful about relying too much on any particular data fact.
Sure. So in other words, go to the Boston Police Department, go to the FBI, et cetera, and
well, and the story for them will change several times, too. I mean, they're ingesting it all. They've opened a phone number for tips and leads. The vast majority of the tips and leads people get in will be, if not erroneous, just not useful. But they still have to be run down and investigated. Sure. And that, when you work in law enforcement or in intelligence, that's just part of the business. You learn how to be very skeptical and about information, corroborate everything before you jump to conclusions.
Richard, how does the FBI fit into this? Obviously, they have an active Boston presence. We know of that investigation for years of Whitey Bulger and all that. It's part of fiction and nonfiction within the culture. But how do the federal agents dovetail with Boston police who are on the ground right now?
Fortunately, that dovetailing has gotten fairly good in the 10 years since 9/11. So if this is in fact an act of terrorism, it will be a federal criminal offense, and the FBI will be the lead investigation for charges brought against the perpetrators, which will then be tried by the U.S. Attorney in federal court. So they, at some point, will become the lead agency for dealing with that. However, at this early stage, when you're trying to get control of the scene of the crime, do a mass video canvas, a mass canvas of victims and families, they are in an advisory and supporting role. They will be participating in all the meetings at a high level. The special agent in charge of the FBI field office will be right there with the governor, with the mayor, with the police chief, and they will be offering assistance, possibly on the technical side with the bombs, possibly on the forensic side with the recovery of evidence, but they are not, quote, in charge of the scene. That is still with the local police.